that's when we'll show like the gallery view. So if you don't want to be seen, you can either turn off your camera, or what I prefer is just turning your camera away from you. So we still have a sense that everyone's there, everyone's in a community. So first of all, if we can have everyone's microphones off, unless you're asking a question or having the chats, or if Vourneen asks us to turn our microphones off so we can make some noise. But other than that, if we can have our microphones off, just so it's easier to hear everything. Have your cameras on if you feel comfortable to do so, even if you don't want to show yourself. It's just lovely to have this community feel that we see everyone else also practicing and also having a go of stuff. Have your instruments at the ready. We don't know when we're going to need them. And yeah, I think that's everything. Thumbs up, Alona, if I've remembered everything, or yes. Great, brilliant. My brain is kind of working today. Great. So lovely to see you guys. Lovely to see so many new faces and familiar faces. It is feeling like a lovely little club. This week we have Vourneen Ryan, and I'm going to give a little quick introduction about Vourneen, and then she can introduce herself more specifically with what she's doing today. But I've known Vourneen for a long time now. She's absolutely lovely, one of the best people. She plays the flute. She's a fantastic musician, but she also did sports psychology with the idea of using sports psychology to help musicians, because as we know, sports quite often makes a lot more money than music would, and the money might be put into the psychology for the sports people, but the sports psychology really helps us because it's a lot of it's similar. So I'm going to throw you over to Vourneen now. Thanks so much, Vourneen, for coming today and sharing with us all the stuff for practicing.
Oh, thank you, Lisa, and thanks for inviting me to join your practice club. I've heard you've had a great few weeks, or many weeks now, and I've caught up with some of them on YouTube, and it looks just fantastic. So well done, Lisa, for doing this as well. It's a great opportunity to get together and to talk about things that as musicians we don't really address or don't really talk about. Practice is quite a private thing, and how we are in our practice and in the practice room, it's quite a personal thing. So it's really lovely to share ideas together to see how we all practice, how we deal with it. And I think how to bring our practice and how we practice onto how we perform and into how we perform. So that's kind of what I'm talking about today. My background, I'm a professional flautist. I suppose one of the things I still struggle with is I don't really know how to practice still. So it's really a lifelong lesson or lifelong learning, I think, for us all, and we'll change over time. And sometimes you have a big, when I was in college, I had lots of hours in the day to practice. Now with two small kids, I have very little time. So your practice plans and what you do as a practicer changes, I think, and evolves over time. And none of it is good, none of it is bad. It's just what you can do and what you can bring to the practice room. So my experience is that when we practice in the room, we're happy, everything's okay, and then we get into stage, we can freeze or we can freak out, and we can struggle with that. So what I'd like to talk about today is how to practice to perform. So always bring that element of performance into the practice room. So I have a slideshow presentation, and as part of that slideshow, we've got exercises. So I'm going to go through the slides, and the reason I'm doing slides today is that I want you to be able to refer back to the slides. So I'm going to send them on to Lisa and to the IAYO, and you can access them afterwards because there's a lot of information in here. Also, it comes from, most of what I'm doing comes from sports psychology literature. Like Lisa mentioned, there's far more funding, there's far more resources to look after sports people. Young athletes are given a lot of support in the academies and how they train. They're given a lot of mental skills training as well as the physical skills, and it's something that we can really use in our world, in our industry. So I'm kind of taking those sports psychology tools and bringing them into the music world, and it can help for all ages, all levels, and I hope you enjoy the little tips I have today. At any point, you can write in the chat or you can ask me a question. So I'll put the slides up. I'll kind of put them up and I'll take them down so we can have eye contact as well. And then we'll do some exercises, that things that we talk about, we can do together, like practicing. And I have my flute with me, so I will be doing the same. So again, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm still doing this stuff in the practice room. So it never stops. Okay, so I'm going to pop up the slides now. Here we go. Share screen. Can everyone see the screen? Yeah. Okay, great. And I'm going to just start slideshow from the beginning. Slideshow from beginning. Brilliant. Okay. So sorry, it's just going to resume slideshow. I'm just going to go back a little bit more. Sorry. Here. Okay, cool. So here we are at the beginning. All right. So practice better to perform better. So this is basically talking about how to bring the element of performance into the practice room. So when you're practicing, you're actually practicing in order to be able to perform kind of better and enhance your performance. So sports psychology, a lot of people think, oh, I'm doing sports psychology or I want to think about what I'm thinking about when I'm playing because I'm struggling, but actually it's mostly about enhancing what you're doing already. So you don't have to suffer stage fright, you don't have to get nervous. It's nothing to do with that. It's about kind of, I suppose, enjoying what you're doing more and maybe just reaching a level that you maybe thought you might not even be able to get to during performance. A lot of us go into performance situation, whether it's exams or on stage, and we think, well, maybe we'll get to 80% of what we could do, but actually maybe we could get to 110%, because the whole idea of flow is when people are watching us, we can maybe get to that. The adrenaline level can help us to perform really, really well and create that kind of magical moment that you get in a performance. So this is the illustration of what we're doing. So we've got the practice room here and we've got the stage. And what we kind of fail to think about, well, I certainly do as a teacher and as a performer, is how I'm going to get to the practice room, to the stage mentally. So I know I can play my piece in the practice room, but really playing it under the spotlight is a very different situation, isn't it? And it's a lot to ask, I think, for us as individuals to go from one to the other with absolutely no preparation. Like who does that really? There's usually always mental prep. If you're even getting on an airplane, you're thinking, right, I'm getting on the airplane. You've got all these stages to do, go through the airport, put your stuff in the bag, and that's mentally preparing you to go into a different place or a different state of mind. Whereas we don't do that in our performing lives in the practice room. So what I want to talk about and what I would like you to think about and take away from today is really bringing that spotlight into the practice room on a daily basis. So firstly, we're going to talk about motivation. So in the practice room, it's important for you to think about goals. So when you get into the practice room, you maybe have an hour or half an hour to do your practice. And it's nice to kind of set goals for yourself, and there's different types of goals you can set. So you can see I have performance goals in there, and that's where I'm bringing the performance into the practice room. So you have your practice goals, which is great. You're working on your technique, you're working on your bow arm, fingers, breathing, all those kind of things. They're called process goals. And they're really important to do because your teacher's told you to do it, or you want to get better, at task focused kind of technical things. But then it's good to have performance goals. So I would advise in each practice session that you bring an element of performance into that practice session. So you could put a video on, take a video of yourself playing. You can put your phone on, record yourself at the end of every practice session, but take 5 minutes of every single practice session to bring an element of performance in. And that can be even bringing in your mum or dad to come in and watch you play, or a friend or a colleague, anyone, but bring that kind of feeling that you've done your practice, you've done your process goal, and now you're going to actually have that element of performance. So within that practice session, even if it's the mobile phone, just try to do that as part of every session. It's called simulation training. So what you're doing is you're simulating the feeling of performance, and then it becomes more kind of normal for you, and it becomes easier to do that then in a performance situation. And also another thing to do in the practice room is find your why. So a lot of what we think about when we go to practice is our what. So, and how we do it, how we're going to do this and what we're going to do. But we kind of tend to skip over the why. So the why is really good to, as a kind of, I suppose it's another goal to think about setting. Why am I doing this? Or to think about or to reflect about. A guy called Simon Sinek, who wrote a very famous book called Find Your Why. And it's really interesting about motivating ourselves to practice. So on the days that we really don't feel like doing it, that we think about, well, look, why are we doing this? And that kind of can be a good motivator to get us going in the practice room. So there are two things to think about. So your goal setting, so you're walking into your practice room, you're going to set your goal for the practice session, and you're going to think about, why am I doing this? So that can bring you to a point where hopefully you're in the right mindset, or you're in the right state of mind to do a really nice, productive, deliberate practice session. And I'm talking about deliberate practice as in intentional practice. What is your intention for this practice session? We can practice 5 hours a day and come out the next day with getting worse, or we can do 45 minutes, 20 minutes and get some really good stuff done. So asking yourself before you start the practice session is a really good way to get in the right mindset. And when you start reflecting on things and start reflecting on your playing and your practice, that also sets you up well for performance, because you'll kind of ask yourself the same things before you go on stage. You'll say, what is my goal for this performance? Why am I doing this? And if the why is that, look, I love music, I love playing, and I want to share what I have, I want to help people and to make them feel good, that why kind of takes away a lot of the anxiety in the first place. Okay, so I would like to ask you a question now, just for a couple of minutes. So how would you like to think and feel perform before a performance? And do you practice thinking and feeling this way in the practice room? So will you take a couple of minutes? So how would you like to think and feel before a performance? So that could be an exam, it could be, anything really, an exam or a concert, Christmas concert, playing, a performance is really playing even with colleagues in a room together. It doesn't even have to have an audience. It could be on Zoom or in a lesson. I often always think a lesson is a performance opportunity as well. I know my teacher kind of made me feel like when I walked in, it was a performance. And do you practice thinking and feeling this way in the practice room? So I'm going to stop the share for a second there. Lisa, what do you think? Do you practice what you feel during the what you want to think and feel during the performance? Do you bring that into the practice room?
I'm now realizing that I should be. And usually when I'm in my practice room, I'm more critical than I would be in my normal everyday life. And I love what you just said there, because I was actually thinking, like, what do I want to feel? And well, of course, excited and, have confidence. But the really big thing I actually would love to feel before a performance and to practice in my practice session is actually self-acceptance. No matter how things go or anything like that, like to just be like, yeah, you're cool. Like, it doesn't matter what happens. That would be mine. But also, sorry, I wanted to say that if people don't want to put on their cameras, you can still ask a question or maybe put it into the chat if you've got something you want to say, just in case some people maybe don't want to be online, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's me, Vourneen. I have not been practicing this in my practice session, but I'm excited to start doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's we don't do it in our practice session, and then it becomes almost a shock. When you're in the performance, you're suddenly like, oh my God, like, so we need to practice. And I know Virginia talked about the inner critic, but we need to practice, and I'll be talking about power words in a moment and about thoughts and feelings, but we need to practice how we want to think and feel in performance in the practice room, because how can it happen otherwise? It's impossible. So it's like anything else, our thoughts are habitual. But I'll go into the thoughts now and a bit about the brain. I'll go back to my slides. So that's something. Oh,
if anyone else had a response to your questions, because I know that I'm only one person, but would anyone else, what were your two questions again, Vourneen?
They were, let me get my slides back here. It was like, what would you like to think and feel before performing? And do you do this in the practice room? Do you practice these thoughts and feelings in the practice room? Do you think and feel this way in your practice sessions?
If anybody thinks and feels like this in your practice session, could you put your hand up?
Okay. Okay.
So I think this is new to all of us. So I think go for it, Vourneen. Show us how to do it.
Right. Well, I think that the most important thing and what comes out of this, and it's very interesting, is that we don't do this. And the most important thing about mental skills training, what we're going to talk about, this is the tip of the iceberg stuff we'll do today, is that it has to be practiced. You know, it can be something you read about in a book. It can be something you can watch and tell you know, tennis players documentary on what they do before they play. That's all great. But what I love about this session today is we're going to do things and you're going to practice them. So it's all about integrating it into the practice room. And then it just becomes you embody it, and it's you, and it's how you are as a musician, and it's your practice. And then you bring that with you wherever you go, on stage, in exam places, wherever. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slides here. We can all see them. Okay, so I'm going to talk now about, where's my next slide? Oh, don't know what's it doing. Oh, stop share. Sorry, I've zoomed in on the slide for some reason. I'm going to go here. Sorry. Where was I? Oh yes, so tendencies of the mind. So from this slide, okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry, guys. Okay. Oh no. I haven't been on Zoom for a while, you know it. It's like teaching finished in June. And okay, so tendencies of the mind. So this is what's interesting to think about when we think about thoughts and feelings and practicing and performing. So it was found that the average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And of those thousands of thoughts, 80% were negative and 95% were the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. So that's extremely scary. It shows that we really do have a negativity bias, and that the negativity bias, the thoughts that we have, so that inner critic, they rebound. So they come back day after day after day because we have repetitive thoughts and our thoughts are habitual. So why does this happen? It's because we have different parts of the brain. So the reason we have habitual thoughts and the reason we have negative thoughts, I think Virginia probably mentioned this before, is that we have a negativity bias, excuse me, because we needed to keep safe in the old days, in Neanderthal times, and that piece of our brain called the amygdala is still there. So when we see a situation to be threatening, the amygdala fires off, and the prefrontal cortex, which is at the front of our brains, can't work. So when you get into that freeze, or you even have a memory lapse, or you're like, where am I? Or you get that tunnel vision playing when you're in performance, this is what's happening. The amygdala is firing and the prefrontal cortex can't work. So we call the prefrontal cortex the big brain and the amygdala the little brain. And you'll see where they are here. The big brain is at the front, the amygdala is at the back. So when the amygdala fires, the big brain stops working. So what we need to do in the practice room and on stage is practice not letting the amygdala fire. So we do not want that little brain to go anywhere near us. We don't want it to activate. And really how we perceive the situation helps. So if we can kind of see it as a challenge and an exciting thing to do, we kind of try, the amygdala doesn't really fire. So that's what we want to start doing in the practice room. So we need to find a balance. So we have our positive thoughts and we have our negative thoughts. So we need to just tip the negative up so that they're a bit more balanced. And we can also call them productive and unproductive. I don't really like the positive negative thing, because you know what, negativity is good. It's kept us safe. It's kept us from running out in front of cars. You know, the amygdala, it's good that it's worked for us. It's actually something we need to keep us safe. But you know what, as musicians, it's not that helpful in the practice and on stage, because the inner critic is really heavy and it's really dense and it kind of drags us down. And so we just need to balance the scales. So we've kind of, for every unproductive thought, we need to put in about 5 productive ones to balance it up. So if you think about that, that takes work, doesn't it? If just part of our human nature means that we've got more unproductive thoughts on a daily basis, which happens in the practice room, then when we have to be the critic, it actually gets worse. We really need to balance that up with productive thoughts. And also, what's difficult about us as musicians is, like, from the age of 4 or 5, we're critiqued, right? So we start music and we're taught, because we have to be taught how to do it. But someone will say, no, that's the wrong note, or your bow hand is low, or whatever. So our whole mind is full of instructions, our whole mind. So we're taught in such a way that we're of an instructive mind when we're playing. And it's very, very hard to leave that instructive or critique aside and then suddenly go on stage and not have that. It's a lot to ask for us. So we have to work really hard at doing it. So thought buses. So with all those thoughts, the habitual thoughts, what I would like for us to learn to do through mindfulness and through different exercises is, I'd like you to think those thoughts as buses. And they're just going along the road, and our thoughts are going around the road like buses, and they have got things like I'm bad, or I can do it. They can be good ones, or they can be productive thoughts, or, you know, it's my fault, or I'm playing really badly, or something like that can be unproductive thoughts. So what we need to do is we need to kind of step back from our thoughts if possible and pretend we're at a bus stop waiting and the thoughts are going by, and they're just going by like buses. So we're not engaging with every thought. We're thinking, oh, that's a thought. Thoughts go, thoughts come, and that's it. That's okay. And we do that through mindfulness. So thought traffic, I've got a little video which you can watch in your own time at home. But it's quite a nice video. It's from Headspace. They're a really good company who run mindfulness courses online. Oops. Now what'll happen is it'll start playing, won't it? Okay, so this is the first exercise we're going to do. So I want you to do a noticing exercise. So this is an exercise where you're noticing your thought traffic. So I want you to play your instrument, so whatever piece you're playing, and I want you to just notice 3 thoughts you have while you're playing. And then I want you to stop, and then I want you to play again, and I want you to notice the thought traffic again. So 3 thoughts you have when you're playing, stop, play again, and notice the thought traffic. So we're going to do that like 3 times. So I'm going to take down the screen. I'll tell you kind of that in person. So you're going to play, you're going to notice what thoughts you're having, what 3 thoughts in particular, stop, and then play again, notice 3 thoughts. So maybe, shall we say, like half a page of something, or a page, whatever you think. Notice the conversation that's going on in your head when you're doing that. And when I'm working with clients, I'd usually get them to write this down on a sheet of paper. And that's something that's great to do in the practice room, and start journaling the thoughts. What you will find is they're the same ones. So they're like habitual. So the same kind of things, oh, in my bow arm, all this or this, the same kind of things are coming in. So I just want, it's just a little noticing exercise. And I'm going to do the same. I've got my flute here, and I know exactly the ones that come into my head at this stage. But anyway, it's just a noticing thing. Shall we say it's 57 now? Should we say, Lisa, 5 minutes or 3 minutes?
Yeah, let's say 5 minutes, because I think people will, like myself, I've never done this before, so I might have to give it a go a few times, because I love this idea of when it said stay at the bus, or can you stay at the bus stop, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up getting on a bus and I'm going to have to start again. So maybe 5 minutes. And what we'll do is, I'll keep an eye on the time, and we'll come back at 2 minutes past 12.
Okay, brilliant. So notice, do you get on the bus or do you stay on the bus stop? So say your chair or wherever you're sitting is the bus stop, and you're playing, and then see what happens. It'll be interesting. I'll see you in 5 minutes.
I think that's about 5 minutes now.
Hi, everyone. I was getting into practicing there. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, great. Any thoughts or anything anyone wants to share with regarding that session? Did you notice thoughts coming in that, yeah, and were they productive? Were they unproductive? Yeah, okay. So now obviously we have to critique ourselves and we have to oh, Lisa, can you hear me?
I think Fionn Galvin has something to say to
Fionn, hello.
I actually I tried doing most of the parts, but one of the things I noticed that I do whenever I play is that it's really hard for me to think any thoughts because my mind is actually completely set on doing the piece, that I kind of just forget to think those kinds of thoughts.
Fionn, I wish I could be like you. That's amazing. So keep it up. Fionn, that's great. And you know what? That's really lovely to observe that you're fully in the moment and you're fully just thinking about, you know, task focused, and that's really wonderful. And Fionn, can I ask you, when you're doing an exam or on stage, would you be the same as that? Would you be fully in the present and thinking about what you're doing?
Yeah, I try to be as engaged as possible just so I don't make any mistakes. Like I'm focusing like completely on the page.
That is brilliant. That's great. Well done you. And stay that way. And you know what? The stuff we're doing today, it's like it's great for you because it'll actually keep you where you are, because that's a really lovely place to be. And you're fully in the present moment. And that's what you're experiencing, is something called flow. And you're really trusting your skills and what you've done. And you're just fully in the present moment and in your body, which is great and totally task focused. So
Vourneen, thank you so much, Fionn. That's amazing. I'm so delighted. And what you were saying there, Vourneen, it's really great. These are great things to do, even if you're not having any problems, because we can always improve just in general. But I think, Ilona, did you have your hand up, or has your question been answered?
No, I was going to say, in a similar vein, like sometimes, you know, when I was doing that there, I found like I actually wasn't thinking about really anything, but also wasn't thinking about the piece. And like sometimes when I'm like practicing something and I keep making mistakes, I'm like, why is this happening? And then I'm like, you're literally not thinking about the piece. So like but I'm not necessarily, when it works, it's not because I'm having loads of thoughts about the piece. It's just that that's what I'm engaged with or whatever.
yeah. And that, yeah. Hi, Lisa.
One more, someone sent me a direct message saying that they have thoughts like, I need to go back over that section, just to add to the conversation.
And they're constructive thoughts, and they're all, there's nothing good or bad about this. It's just noticing. So, and I think it's just having that awareness when you're practicing and bringing that awareness into the practice room if you can. So even the awareness, Ilona, of thinking, I'm not thinking about the music, even to have that awareness, it also gives you a sense of control about what you're doing. And a lot of what happens is when we get on stage and we maybe freeze or have that fight flight response, it can be because we don't have that awareness and we're shocked and we're in a state of panic because we haven't prepared. So if you can keep a really heightened awareness in the practice room by noticing things and by noticing thoughts, by noticing feelings, that can be really useful. And also it's really great what Fionn shared with us there, because it was something I was going to address later on in the PowerPoint, is that being task focused, and Ilona, you brought this up as well, process cues I'm going to talk about. So when we are feeling the fight, flight or freeze response, or where we are feeling overwhelmed in a performance situation, a really good trick is to think about the tasks or process. So say to yourself, lower the shoulder, you know, loose fingers, and it gets you back into your body and out of your mind. So it doesn't, not in a cruel way, not like, oh, my fingers are so stiff, or not telling yourself off in that mean way, but actually just saying, breathe, or like loose hand, but task focused. So I would have students put into those moments in the piece where I know they might freeze or have difficulty, they have to write over that passage, loose arm or something like that. So it's a nice process cue. So I'd have process cues a lot through the music and through orchestral parts as well, because orchestral playing is difficult because you're coming in and out and you're waiting, especially as a flute player, and then you have to come in and it could be a bit, and you could freeze, so it's like loose hands or, something like that. So process cues are really good, and it keeps you really task focused. So when you are feeling overwhelmed and the world is getting a bit too much for you, especially in an exam or a performance situation, go into task. So go into narrow focus, go into arms, head, shoulders, something like that. And I would write it on my music. I really would, because when you're in the moment, you don't have the resources to tell, to go, oh, remember that workshop they told me to do process cue, write it in. Yes, Lisa.
Vourneen, I think I saw this on a social media something. You were preparing for a concert and you had all these lovely cues written in your music. And I remember, I don't know if you remember any of the things you wrote, but I remember thinking, oh, if I was sitting there in a concert, I'd just be excited to play because of the thing in it.
Absolutely. Because when you think about the power of the other things we say to ourselves, the power of the actual useful things are just as powerful. So why not? That's also tipping those scales, isn't it? So having the balance there between the productive and unproductive thoughts, and also things that inspire you, like a piece of poetry or something. I think writing it down and having it on the music is really great. Is a great way to kind of get yourself into the right mindset and into the right performance mindset. How do I want to think? How do I want to feel before I play? And that's and then when that's in your music in the practice room, and then you bring that piece of music that you've been practicing with all those lovely thoughts and feelings and inspiring mantras, when you bring that onto stage with you, you're bringing your kind of slice of comfort as well on with you, and it can really help. It just gives you that feeling like, this isn't so different. I've been doing this at home too. So that's a good tip, and it's very simple. It's no problem, but it's really helpful. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the our lovely PowerPoint. Okay, so everyone can see that okay? Great, so that's the exercise. We just did that, which I thought was really, really useful. Power words, so this is what we've just been talking about, and I do a big lion because I like my power words are they're kind of, I like to go into warrior mode because I find they need to be active. I don't want to be calm and relaxed actually, because a lot of the time what I need to do is I need to bring that adrenaline and bring that energy into like a really, an active space for me. And it's interesting with power words or with words that we're going to use within performance, like they change over time. So maybe when I was younger, I would have wanted calm and relax, whereas now I need a more activated power word because my energy isn't the same as it was when I was 20. Yes, Lisa.
I think Fionn just raised his hand again. Did you have something to say, Fionn?
Oh.
For me, it just kind of depends on the kind of thing I'm about to play. Because it depends on like what kind of like piece it is, like if it's like energetic or not.
Yeah, that's great, Fionn.
If it is, I prefer to be calm, but if it's like a fast-paced one, I'd prefer to be like the one you just said.
Yeah, that's great. And you can mix it up and you can do whatever words. And the most important thing about the words is that they mean something to you. And when I work with people or work with clients, I never tell them what words to write, or the teacher can't tell you what words to write. You've got to have to have your own words, and they need to mean something to you. So in a sports psych term, we call it cognitive restructuring. So it's really just words, basically power words. So we have the process word cues, which the process words are more about the, the arm and the task and the lip and the stuff, the technical things. But these words they're more about how you want to feel, like how you want to be when you're performing. So we can call them a mantra. So So usually I'd have 3 words in a mantra. So it could be calm, confident, flow. It could be energy, vitality, anything like that. So just figure out your own words, and we'll all have different words. And like Fionn said, one word might work today and it mightn't work tomorrow, or you might have different words for different things. So what we do with these words, we have a little technique in sports psychology called park and replace. So when you're in a situation, and this is something that's really good to think to do in the practice room as well, when that negative thought, so we've done our noticing and we've seen some, okay, we have some unproductive thoughts sometimes. So an exercise you can do is when you feel that unproductive thought creep into your mind, the inner critic, remember, it's always kind of standing on our shoulder because we've been learning music since the age of dot and we just do this. And it also makes us good musicians, by the way, having that inner critic. So we kind of like our inner critic as well. And it shows we care. So we have I want you to visualize, so you have the negative thought or the unproductive thought come in, and I want you to visualize a stop sign in your head. So some people will see a big red, thing from the road sign. Some people will see a hand saying stop. Some people will see a traffic light with a red light. And then I want you to replace that thought with your nice mantra, with your power words. So you're going to stop. The negative thought comes in, you're going to stop. So it can be with your hand or a stop sign in your head, and then replace it with a mantra. So the reason we do that is because the mind can only hold one thought at a time. So I think this is really fascinating when I knew this, because I know it can only hold one thought. So therefore, if you're having that unproductive thought, if you replace it with a productive thought or your mantra, then you can't have that thought that you didn't want to have. Because a lot of times what happens when we're playing and that unproductive thought comes in, we think to ourselves, I don't want to think this. I don't want to think this. Go away. Your inner critic is here. I don't want to see you today. And it keeps coming back, and it's called ironic rebound theory, because the subconscious is like, oh, they don't want to think this. I'll pop it back in. I'll pop it back in. And it's really awful. But the only way to get rid of this is just replace it. So it's kind of like you have the thought and replace it. Now, in a performance situation, it's very hard to do that because you're in the moment and you're task focused and you're thinking of other things. So what I would really love you to do is have a mantra and try it in the practice room. So think of 3 really, power words that how you want to think and feel before you play, and have those words as your mantra. So when you're playing in a situation and that inner critic is creeping in, the first thing you say to yourself is flow, calm, relaxed, or fight, or energy, vitality, I want to help, how can I help, enjoyment, something like that. So 3 words that really mean something to you. And those 3 words are going to be your power words and your mantra. And you can put them on your music as well. So it's different than the process cues. The process are task related. These power words are how you want to think and how you want to feel. So this is more mindset, how you want to be in a performance situation. So going back to that ideal performance mindset, how would you like to be and how would you like to feel? Does anyone have any questions about that before we move on? Yes, Lisa.
Just because we've got some people who are a bit younger, I think if we can say it in a really simple way, it would be maybe when you said about the task things, that's stuff that you do.
Yeah.
And we're talking about how we feel, like how we want to feel. So maybe like choose between happy or sad or excited or tired or calm, or what would the opposite of calm be? It would be like jumping out of a box kind of thing. So like all of those, I'm trying to think how to put it into a word that would make sense, but like what would be, you were talking about flow and calm, would you have like a few words that you could give us to try out on ourselves, Vourneen, like some good words just to start us off?
You could like think, you can think like I'm tall like a tree, or you could think I'm waving my arms like a tree, I'm flowing, or you can have an actual phrase like or I'm fierce like a tiger, if you want to feel fierce. But you could have just a phrase for the children in the room, you can have a little phrase for yourself. So when that voice is coming in, you're like, I'm fierce like a tiger, or the thing is, I'm going to stand tall like a tree. You know, so something really nice just to bring you into your present moment. So I think
if someone had like a hero, like I know with my nieces, they love Elsa from Frozen. So could they like say that they were Elsa, or so? Like, could you pretend you are someone else, or?
absolutely, and you know, absolutely, and that's used a lot in sports psychology. We call it modeling, and you can be Elsa, or you can be anyone that you want to be, really. And who?
Elsa and Anna. There's always the
Anna, yeah, exactly. You can find your Elsa, and you know, anything that kind of brings you to how you would like to feel and how you want to think. So like, who do you want to be? You know, what's your superpower, I suppose, as well. So think about what your superpower would be, or what you'd want to feel like, and then so when the inner critic comes in, you just see the stop sign and just replace it. Even in your head, if you can just see Elsa, or see the male equivalent, I don't know. But yeah, something like that. But it's good just to park it and replace. And the most important thing out of this whole message of the park and replace technique is that your mind can only have one thought at a time. Imagine only one thought. So that's it. So if you kind of can replace it, that can be really helpful as well.
And I
So
think
we're gonna, yeah.
Fionn has a question again, and Audrey after Fionn.
Okay.
Hi, Fionn.
Sorry, I just left my hand up.
Ah, you're okay.
So Audrey.
Vourneen, that's really interesting. But what about like fake it till you make it? What about that sort of an approach? I'm going to keep at it, and then, you know, I'm going to believe I can do it, even though I sound terrible. But if I really believe I can do it, then who knows? Maybe one day I will.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the power words are to fake it till you make it, really, because what you're doing is you're saying, I want to feel, you're kind of future pacing it. So this is how I would like to feel. This is how I would like to be. So when you're having those words, I mean, you mightn't feel brave and inspired and all those things, but you're kind of telling yourself that's what you feel like through using those words and using your mantra. And when I work with clients, I get them to do cards with it on it. And, you know, it's a real visual thing. You're visualizing kind of what you would like to be and how you'd like to feel and how you are, while being authentic to yourself as well. But yeah, I think fake it till you make, absolutely. I think it's definitely, that's kind of what it is, you know, because it's telling yourself that you can do it, and that you've got, you know, this is how you want to think and feel, therefore it will happen, because thoughts become things, you know. So yeah, exactly. Great. Okay, shall we push on to the next bit? Okay, so I share done park and replace. So we're going to do another exercise in a minute. Okay, so we're going to go on to a few little breathing exercises. So strategies to stabilize our attention. So these are really nice exercises I would like you to do in the practice room. So we've got finger breathing, we've got box breathing, and we've got my favorite, which is called a Fothbach, and we've got centering. So I will fly through these because you may have done it before or you may have not, but they're nice things to do. And I'd like us to choose one after I talk about them. Choose one that you like and to do it before you practice. So this is a really good way. Finger breathing, obviously breathing is a really good way to get into the body. So what I'm going to talk about from now on are ways to get into the body, into the task, into what Fionn was talking about, fully into what he's doing. When we're task focused and we're really in the present, that's when we're closer to entering flow and everything's going really nicely. So what we want to do is do this in the practice room so we can bring this on stage. So 5-finger breathing is a lovely technique, especially for the younger people in the room. It's really simple, and you can do it before you practice, or you can do it before you go on stage, but I would love you to do it before you practice on a daily basis if possible. So you've got your hand here, and what we just do, it just stabilizes our breath, brings us into the present moment, into nice focused, calm mindset. So we kind of breathe in with up the thumb, breathe in, and exhale down the thumb. Inhale up the first finger, exhale down the first finger. Inhale, up third finger. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And then you can do the same with the other hand. So that's a lovely exercise to do because it's something we have with us all the time, isn't it? So we have it in the practice room, and it's another thing we can bring with us side stage, or it can be even when we're in orchestra and our bit's coming up and we're getting a bit, we can take our hand under the chair and do a little bit of 5-finger breathing. So it's a really, really nice technique, and one that I'd love for you to incorporate in your practice. Next one is box breathing. So box breathing is we're going to breathe like a box, but it's another thing that's really simple, and it really helps kind of bringing us into our body and to calm us down. So we inhale up. So we have like a box. So I say if we have like my phone, so we inhale up one side, one, hold, exhale, and hold. And we go along the outside and inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And that's another really simple breath you can do. And what I do sometimes, if you can make a little card for yourself with your nice power words, you can use that card to do your box breath as well. The next one I'm going to do is centering. So centering was used as a sports psychologist called Don Green, who was at Juilliard School, very famous music conservatoire in New York. And he was a sports psychologist, and he went into Juilliard to work with the musicians. And he is an advocate for centering breathing. And centering breathing is the one that I love because I can use it. I don't need any hand or this when I'm on stage, but I can just do it myself and no one knows I'm doing it. So what it is you're basically breathing in for say 4 and then you breathe out for 6. So you add 2 beats to your out breath. So it's all about the exhale. Exhale, exhale, exhale. It's so important to exhale. When we're feeling stressed or when our heart rate is coming up, we think exhale and push the exhale for as much as you can. So if you inhale for 4, so we can try now. So inhale for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that really calms the heart rate. So we try and do that before we're performing, or also in the practice room as well. And in the middle of performance, it's a nice one to get your heart rate down, and it's scientifically proven to lower the heart rate. So it's really one that works. So I would like you to pick one of these breathing techniques. So we had the 5-finger breathing, box breath, and centering. So that's 3. So the 5-finger breathing was this one. Box breath was this one. So inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And then we had centering was in for 4 and out for 6, or in for 5 and out for 7. It's up to you. The most important thing is the exhale. And now I'd like you to do something funny before you do this breathing exercise. I'd like you to jump up and down, or get your heart rate up, or run around the room, run up and down the stairs in your house. Find a way to get your heart rate up, jumping jacks, anything like that to get your heart rate up. I'd like you to sit down in your chair, choose your breathing technique, and play the first 3 lines of whatever you're going to play. Right? So you're going to jump up and down, you're going to choose which breathing technique you're going to do, and then you're going to play the first 3 lines. Okay, so I'll see you back in, will we do that a few times? So 3 minutes? Yeah, 3 minutes. Great. Okay. Okay. So, how is that for everyone? Is it good? Lisa, which breathing technique did you choose?
I did the +2 counts on the way out. What's that one called? 5 and 7 out.
Centering, yeah. Centering, yeah. That's great.
Dizzying. Well, first of all, trying to get my heart rate up, I was like, really like, look at me, I can't get my heart rate up until I stopped, and then all of a sudden my head's dizzy and I'm like, boom, boom, boom. But it was really, really useful, because then when I was playing, my heart rate hadn't, because I did it a few breaths and then I started playing, but then as I was playing, I was trying to continue exhaling. Like you said, the exhale is important, and that did ground me, which I guess is what you're going for, being in the body.
Exactly, it's being in the body, and what you're doing is you're simulating performance, and how you can feel in performance the heart rate can go up and you can get that adrenaline rush. So you're simulating that within the practice rooms. You're actually practicing how you may feel, and again, if you do that along with your lovely words, your how you want to think and feel, and your process task focused words, you're kind of halfway there, aren't you? Because you're bringing in, you've done this before, your body's done it before. You're kind of thinking, if you look at, self-efficacy, so you're telling yourself, I've done this before, I can cope with this, therefore this isn't going to get me here on the stage or when I'm performing. So it's giving yourself all the right messages, telling yourself that you can do this. So there's another nice exercise I'd like to do. I know we've got half an hour left, but I want to go on to visualization in a minute. But there's a lovely exercise which I find the most useful exercise, and I actually have a recording of it. I'm going to send to Lisa after. So if you do find it useful, you can use it yourself in a guided way. But it's called feet on floor, bum and chair. And I like it for us as musicians, because we're sitting down so much when we're playing, especially in an orchestra situation. But you can, if you're doing it standing, you can just think of being rooted. So being really in your feet. And what happens is a lot of us, because we're all in the thoughts and we're playing and we're all, breath is all shallow, we're up on this half of the body. But actually a really good thing to think about is to be really low on your body and think of yourself being really rooted and grounded into the ground, and kind of like tree trunks coming down. So when you're feeling overwhelmed and anxious, a really good thing to do is to feel your toes, your big toe in the ground, or your feet, or you're really rooted. So this is called the Fofbach, and it's kind of it's from mindfulness. It's actually from a mindfulness in schools program. I'm using it with adults and with children. It's really great. So it's a guided script that I'm going to read out. You can close your eyes, you can turn your cameras off, or you can put your screen aside. But it'll give you the sense of really being in your body and being grounded. And what happens is, if you can do this exercise in the practice room, or even if you can have the feeling of doing your centering breath, sitting down, being grounded, and then playing, that's again a nice kind of little comfort exercise you can bring onto the stage. I'm grounded, feet on floor, bum on chair, and it's an anchor for you. It's kind of throwing down your anchor. So I'm going to read this out now, and I use the script because the people that devised this program really thought carefully about the words that were used, and it was a lot of research was done about what words really worked. So that's why I like to use the script rather than just to say it on my own. So you can kind of close your eyes, you can lower your eyes, but this is called the Fofbach. I'll start now. So if you can get comfy, if you're all in your chairs. So one of the best ways to calm and slow yourself down is to take your attention to the lower half of the body. So as you sit here, begin by bringing your attention into the feet. Really tuning into the sensations of your feet as they touch the floor. Noticing what that feels like. Which parts of the soles of your feet are in contact with the floor and which are not. Exploring and investigating these sensations as if you were observing them with patience, kindness, and curiosity. Now including all the sensations of your feet, noticing what it's like to be wearing socks and shoes. Or maybe you're not, maybe you're wearing sandals. And now feel the weight and the texture of your legs, the lower halves and the upper halves. Really letting yourself explore what legs feel like from the inside. And now letting your awareness expand up to include the sensations of sitting or standing in this case, maybe. So tuning into what it feels like to be in contact with the chair or the floor. Again, what does this feel like from the inside? How is your weight distributed? Where exactly is the body actually touching the chair or the feet on the ground? And now including in your awareness all the sensations in the lower half of the body, almost as if you're anchored there. Feet on floor, bum on chair. Listening to the lower half of your body and receiving its textures as they change moment by moment. As you sit feeling your weight on the chair, notice that you are safe and supported. Be aware of the places you feel pressure and how the body is held and supported by the chair or the ground. Visualize that you have tree roots growing down from your body, and you can draw energy from the ground through your body. Feel the weight of your body in the roots. Staying grounded in the lower part of the body. Now, if you're comfortable with it, you might try including the sensations of breathing in your awareness. Without trying to change your breathing in any way, just notice what it actually feels like. You might notice the movement in the chest or the belly as you breathe in and out, while still being aware of the weight of your body in the chair and the contact of your feet on the floor. And then when you're ready, you can gently come back to the present. So that's a really powerful grounding exercise. If you can, in your practice, bring that in. So when you're sitting on your chair, if you can just feel that weightedness of your bum on the chair, feet on the floor, or if you're standing, you're being really rooted down. So there's roots coming out of your feet, and kind of visualize that feeling that you're like a tree and that you've got roots. I think that's really nice because it keeps you grounded and it gets you into the body and it's into the present moment as well. So what I would advise is, and what I get my students to do, is when they're kind of coming into the practice room, they come into the room, they take out their instrument, and then we do have our Fofbok moment, you know, of that grounded feeling, and we do our centering breath or whatever breath they feel like, and then they can play away. But the important thing is to just incorporate this as much as possible and set up a little routine. So we call it a pre-performance routine. So if they get used to kind of going into the room, foff bok, either feet on floor, bum on chair, or just feet on floor. The breath that they like, usually it's a centering breath. 4 in, the 6 out. Instrument up, some nice process cues or power words, and play. And that is their pre-performance routine. And it's like you can box that up and bring that with you to every performance venue, whether you're going in for an exam stage where you're sitting there waiting for your solo to come up, feet on floor, bum on chair, centering breath, power word, play. So it's bringing in the thoughts, it's bringing in the body, it's bringing in the action. Sometimes we'll bring in a little action where it can be like a little elastic band on their wrists that they click, our shoulders up and down. So it's nice to bring a little behavior in as well. So you have thought, feeling, behavior. You've got the 3 elements that you can bring into your pre-performance routine. Or I know someone who stamped their foot like, well, 1, 2. So, I mean, that might be nice to stamp 2 stamps because that's the grounding, isn't it, as well? You can bring your 1, 2, ground, breathe, power word, play. So that's your pre-performance routine. And if you practice that in the practice room, so that's part of you come into your room, what's your goal? What's your intention today? Sit down. Where am I? Am I just kind of going in and playing like this? Am I grounded? Am I actually feet on floor? Can I feel my big toe on the ground? And then you're breathing and then you're playing. That's performing, that's practicing better to perform better, because that's going to be your routine and performance as well. Does that make sense? So it feels like a lot of things to do, but it's only 1 minute, easy peasy, easy to bring into the practice room. Yes, Lisa.
So before we started, I asked Vourneen to give us the gold, give us the good stuff, and I'm just all the stuff you just said there. I'm like, yeah, we got it. I'm so.
Well, it's about that kind of thing, about getting on the plane and not having those steps. These are the steps. It's not expecting so much from ourselves that we just go from one room and then fly into the other without grounding and being in a different state. I think it's so much to expect that we go from practice room to performance without any steps. And if we have those steps in the practice room, we do the exact same thing, in the stage. And there's a performance research, performance science in Centre for Performance Science in London, in the Royal College of Music. And they're doing a lot of work with this, and they're working a lot with surgeons and looking at, their pre-performance routine. They're washing their hands, they're lining things up, they have it all, the little things. And even for us, like taking our instrument out, cleaning it out, all those things are actually part of our pre-performance routine, but we don't realize it. But maybe if we can just have that awareness and heightened awareness, I take out my instrument. This is what I do. I do this, I do this. And being kind of aware of that is another comfort in the performance environment. So I'm going to go on to a little bit of visualization. Visualization is a huge area, which you could do about another hour and a half on visualization, but I think it's a really important thing to do with, it's an important aspect of mental skills training, and I love it. It's very, very powerful. So I'll bring up a few slides and then we'll do a few exercises as together. And again, you'll get sent these, so you don't need to worry about taking notes or anything, even though it's nice to take your own notes as well. I know we've done the Faf Bach, I have a script for that. We've done that. We've done our process cues. Visualization. Okay, so visualization, it's called imagery or visualizations, 2 words for it. So bit of background, when we visualize, so when we imagine something, we actually stimulate the same brain regions as you do when you physically perform the same task. Isn't that amazing? So there's been loads of research, loads of really interesting studies about musicians who have injuries, and they visualize the music and the muscle. They do some kind of test on the muscle, and the muscles actually got stronger even though they've just visualized it. So we can actually stimulate the same brain regions. So it's hugely powerful. It's a great way to do fast practice. You can travel, you can look at your music, you can do a lot of learning music through visualization. And it's a way of conditioning your brain for successful outcomes. So a lovely research that was done, study was done tracking improvements to basketball free throws. So we had one group who they practiced it 20 minutes daily. like actually physically practiced it. And then we had the second group who they visualized practicing it, and group C did nothing at all. And the interesting stat in this is that group B, the people who just visualized it, improved 23% in 20 days, and group A only improved 24%. So actually there was only 1% difference in physically doing the task and visualizing the task. So that's pretty cool. So there's loads of studies you can find on visualization like this, and loads of nice videos online. In the Olympics are on at the moment, they're all talking about visualization and how it helps them in their performance. So the important thing about visualizing, it's not like daydreaming in that, oops, my screen's gone a bit weird. It's not so much like daydreaming. It's more like, oh, sorry. Is it kind of going funny with you, my screen, or is it okay? It's okay. Okay, great. Yeah, so it's important to visualize what you want. Shift perspective, we'll talk about that in a minute. Pump it up. So your visualization is not like daydreaming, I'm just walking down the road. You're walking down the road and it's the color is huge, and how are you feeling? What are you wearing? What are you seeing? So you're bringing all the submodalities in. So you're bringing all the senses into it, your visualization, and visually it's vibrant and dynamic. And I'm a big fan of visualization scripts. So if you're coming up to an exam or something, I think it's nice to write your own script and to say, use your own words, and then you can read it out for yourself and you can record it onto your phone or something. Yes, Lisa.
Just give us a short example of what that script might sound like if you wrote one yourself.
I do, exactly. And actually I have one here. We're going to do a few. I'll go on to these actually now. This is a good time. So I've got a little exercise which isn't about music, and I've got one that is about music. So so we'll do the two now. I know we only have a quarter of an hour left. So I'm going to give you one to do with your house. Okay, so this is a nice simple one. And I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this. It's an easy question, don't worry. So you can just close your eyes, you can turn off your cameras, it's only 2 seconds. So I'd like you to imagine your house. So you are standing outside at the front of your house. Notice the colours, the windows, and all of the details. So walk to the front door. And notice how the house seems to grow larger as you get closer. Put your hand on the door handle and you're going to open the door and walk into your house. Walk through your house to the doorway of your bedroom. See the colours of the walls, the furniture, the windows, and the floor. Notice all of the details as you look around your room. Now turn around and walk back to the front door of your house. Open the door and walk out and turn around and look back at your house. Okay, so very short visualization there. The question I wanted to ask you is, when you did that, were you yourself walking up the stairs and into the house, or were you looking at yourself walking into the house? So this is called internal or external. So who wants to share? Were they in their own body? I was
walking up the stairs.
You were walking upstairs, so you were in your own body?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa, you're the same? Yeah. Okay, that's great. So basically, some people are in their own body and some people are seeing. So I could see Lisa. So Lisa could be seeing herself walking up the stairs. So it's a good idea in visualization to mix it up. It makes it more powerful. So if you're doing visualization about an exam or a performance or something, visualize yourself walking on stage or whatever, walking into a room. Do it as if you're in the projection booth, kind of looking at yourself walking on stage, or you're in the audience, and then switch it up that you're in your body. So mix it up. So you're doing kind of looking at yourself and then being in your body. So there's lots of research to show that that makes it more effective, and it kind of sticks more with us, and it's a good thing to do. So I have a little imagery script to do with music now. It's only 3 minutes long, and it gives you an idea of what kind of thing you would be doing yourself when you're working with imagery. So say, and how would you use this in the practice room? So you can use this in lots of ways. What I do is with people, I get them to imagine, usually, people have not an issue, but they'd be a bit anxious about the first. They say, once I play the first line of the piece, I'm absolutely grand. It's going out, getting the first line over with and whatever. So what we do is we sit in the chair in the practice room. Again, this is all about practice to stage. So in the practice room, we sit and we close our eyes and we imagine, arriving at the venue, putting our clothes on, what we're eating, what we're wearing, who we're talking to, as much detail as possible. And they imagine then walking on stage, playing the first 3 lines of the piece, really happy, really enjoying it. Like Fionn was saying, totally in the moment, present, task focused. And then what I do is I get them to open their eyes and play those first 3 lines of the piece. So whatever we're preparing, we do that visualization exercise in the room as well. So it's it's really powerful actually. And what they'll find is when they go onto the stage or in the performance situation, play those 3 lines, they actually do feel that way. They feel calm and relaxed and exactly how they had visualized how they want to feel. So it's very, very powerful. And within those visualizations, or within that kind of imagining, you can also bring in your pre-performance routine. So you can visualize yourself behind stage doing your centering breath, doing maybe your Faf Bach, doing your shoulders or whatever action you want to do, picking up your instrument and playing. And so you can bring your mental skills training into the visualization as well. You can bring anything into it. The most important thing when you're doing visualization is it has a kind of a beginning, and then if you're only doing the beginning, you finish at the beginning. If you do the middle section of the actual performance, then you can finish, and then you can do the end section. But sometimes if you have more time, you're going to take 10 minutes and you say, look, I'm going to do this a bit longer visualization and have the beginning, middle, and the end, and how you want to feel at the end of it. And that's a really powerful visualization to do. How do you want to feel? Are you happy? Are people smiling? Have you enjoyed it? So always get the end result as well as the how you feel in the beginning. So kind of wrap it up. But if you don't have time, you can do short ones, beginning, middle. You can mix it up. Again, this is a huge area. They call it layering. So you can layer your visualizations. So you can really specify one piece, one part in a piece maybe that worries you, and you can do a lot of work on that bit just in your mind. But if you have time, and also the research has shown that real-time visualization is the most effective. So actually going through the piece like you were playing it, which takes ages, is the most effective. But I never do that because I never have time. So anything is better than nothing, So mix it up, play with it. I'm going to do this little script with you now. It takes about 3 minutes, and it'll give you an idea of what kind of stuff I would write. And you don't need to write it. I mean, this is heavy stuff, writing something. You can just close your eyes and imagine it. That's enough. Some people like writing because it helps them do it if they really want to put it as part of their routine, but it's completely up to you. So I'll do this short imagery script now. We'll do it till 5 to, it's only 2 minutes long, and then we can see how it went. Okay, so I'll just have a wee bit of water first. Okay, so so you have a seat where you're comfortable. So we kind of go into our breathing like you would mindfulness. So you always start your imagery work with a little bit of breathing, getting yourself calm, kind of like you do if you were doing some mindfulness practice. So you're going to pay attention to your breathing. So noticing your breath as it comes in and as it goes out. So as we're short in time today, I'm going to go straight into the performance arena. So imagine yourself as you approach the performance arena. So it could be somewhere that you know, or it could be somewhere that you're going to play in the next couple of years, or maybe a room that you go into to play for your exam, or any situation, a performance space. So notice what the venue looks like from the outside. And imagine yourself feeling really confident as you enter through the door. Excuse me. So imagine yourself going into the performance venue and take a deep breath and take in the smells of the venue. Notice what it looks like and what it smells like. And then imagine yourself walking into the venue and the sounds you will hear. So how it smells, how it looks, and how it sounds. Will you hear the orchestra warming up? Will you hear people practicing? What will you hear? Feel your confidence knowing that you're going to perform well. You have practiced for this moment and now you can enjoy it. You know the pieces you are playing and you know your body is ready to play them. You are ready to perform. Take a deep breath and release that breath. Know that you are happy to be there and notice how ready you are to perform. This is what you've been practicing for. All those hours have been spent getting you ready for this event. Now imagine yourself taking your performance position. Imagine yourself ready to perform. Feel what it is like and experience the excitement of playing to other people. You are now ready to start your piece. Take a breath and imagine yourself performing well, exactly as you have practiced. Hear the beautiful music as you perform your music in front of those people who want you to do well. Hear the music as you continue your performance and notice how relaxed you feel. Notice too how enjoyable it is to perform this piece. And carry on imagining this until your musical piece finishes. At the end of your performance, look around and notice how happy the people are, and notice how happy you feel now. You have performed well, and people are happy that you've performed well. Enjoy this moment. It's a moment of joy. And then when you're ready, bring yourself back into the present moment. And notice your breathing as you breathe in and out, and slowly open your eyes. So that was like a whistle-stop tour of visualization. So that was very short and very quick, but you get what I mean. It's visualizing yourself kind of walking in and all the situations that you're, getting dressed and what clothes you're wearing. And I would also say another good practice technique is to practice in the clothes you're going to wear in a venue. So if you've something coming up, put on your clothes you're wearing, and it's again another form of simulation training and taking out all the uncontrollables out of the situation. Practice in your suit or your clothes or your dress or whatever you're wearing. That's another good tip. But visualization can be really, really, really useful, and it can be useful. I'd love you to use it in the practice room. So doing what we talked about, like thinking of those first two lines of the piece and then playing it. But it's a very, very powerful tool. It's definitely one I use often. So I know we're short in time, Lisa. I just want to leave any time for questions if you have any before we finish up.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can put up your virtual hand or your real hand, or you can put something into the chat if you want. Anything at all. I personally, I've just learned so much. I can't wait to put it into practice. I feel excited for the next time I can perform. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. And there's lots of different, there's so many things. These are just, again, the tip of the iceberg. We can, you can go deeper into this. There's deeper work you can do. There's also different types of techniques. Tapping is very good. EFT is brilliant. There's, a lot of people use body work is excellent as well. So it's kind of just using bits that suit you, and you'll find maybe one of these techniques between all these practice sessions. I know you've done a lot of work that suit you, but definitely not all things suit everyone. It just depends what suits you the best. So try them all. That's why we're here.
I think, Louise, you had something you wanted to say or ask.
Yes, I was going to say the mantra that you have, I have 3 words. Is that the same for every piece? Should it be the same for every piece? Like, whether it's a lively piece or a quiet piece, should you have the same mantra, your own personal mantra?
I do, because it's how I want to kind of think and feel about the performance rather than the piece, like how I want to be on stage, like, so how I want to think and how I want to feel. And then I'd have other words to do with the piece, that I'd write around it. But definitely how I want kind of my mindset to be, like, how I want to approach the piece, or how I want to approach being on stage, would be my mantra. And then, you can put the energy of the piece or the mood of the pieces, you can put those words in as well around the music. But what I tend to do is kind of how I want to think and feel, no matter how the piece is. Because sometimes I feel if the piece is really energetic and I come in with that vitality, I'll make a mess of it. I actually want to be calm so that I can take the step back, so I can produce an energetic performance. I think as musicians as well, to have a tiny bit of space maybe between our how we feel and what we're doing, we can kind of keep a bit more in control of our work, what's coming out of the instrument. So
that's great, Vourneen. Thank you. I really enjoy this. It's been fantastic. Yeah.
Great.
Really.
And I'm going to send those slides on. So if anyone wants it, I suppose, Lisa, is it best that they email you to ask for them?
I don't think people have my email address, but what we're going to be doing is having a practice hub not too far from, once we finish these weeks, we're going to have a practice hub where we can go and get all of this information, all the resources from not just the 10 weeks, but also what people have sent on as additional. So there'll be plenty of stuff on there. But Vourneen, can I just say a huge thank you from all of us. This has been amazing. I've learned so much. You have a website, don't you? You have a school that just, if people want more, I love your emoji there, Alona. If people want to find out more stuff, what's your website?
theschoolofperformance.com. So I'll share the screen. I have the version here. Where is it? Oh yeah, sorry. Here I have it. Oh, that was it there. Yeah, theschoolofperformance.com. So you can even screenshot that or take a photo of or something. And I'm hello@theschoolofperformance.com. You can get in touch that way. Brilliant. Okay, that's great. Listen, thanks a million.
We'll see you guys next week. Eliza McCarthy is coming, and she's going to be doing mindfulness. So it's brilliant moving on from what we've been doing with Vourneen today to move on to mindfulness. So looking forward to seeing you all next week. Well done for today.